Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Namaskar, welcome to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, Ahmedabad. Today we are over here in a video session of first year BA compulsory English block number 2 unit number 7, and we are going to discuss the short story The Letter. So let us discuss the particular short story. In the last session we had already discussed the features of the short story, the theme of the short story, what could be the themes, or what is the particular definition of the short story. Certain things were already discussed in the last session. Still we are going to see some parts of the short story, how they are going to be created and who are the writers of the short stories, which are the popular short stories of Indian English literature, or which are the popular short stories of English literature as well. The short story is an imaginary prose with a few characters and single event. The story ends with a sudden twist, conclusion, or a shocking end. The previous session was about the short story, and we discussed the short story which was known as The Shrood. It was written by Munshi Premchand ji. At that time also I had delivered the definition of the short story. Here again we discuss the definition of the short story as an imaginary prose with a few characters. As previously discussed, it is about the imaginary prose with little characters and one single event. Here I make you to note down one important thing, that short story deals with one single event which ends with a sudden twist. It has a sudden twist or a shocking end or a surprising happy ending. It could be a surprising happy ending also, but it deals with single event. Characters are lifelike. Setting, the description of the story helps the readers to visualize it. The readers visualize the short story because short story is about a short, small lifespan. So naturally it is merely a description about a small event, and one can visualize the whole event. Okay, this happens in the first part, this is in the beginning part, this is in the third part. In that way the person is able to remind or can see the recap of the short story. Theme is the central idea and the main belief, the main message the author wants to suggest in the short story. Today we are over here with a short story named The Letter. Dhumketu, who is the writer of this particular short story, he is named as Gauri Shankar Govardhan Ram Joshi, is the very big name. We should say that he is the Dhumketu ji because he is prominent Gujarati writer. He has written, if you know, he has written Tankha, Chola Devi. Then his very famous works were regarding Chalukya Yuga and other historical events. He had written Chandralekha. These were the superb works, the amazing works which were written regarding the historical information and historical stories of Gujarat. So he is very prominent writer, and this particular short story, The Letter, is about one character who is the main leading character of this short story, his coachman Ali. So let us discuss first of all the author, and then we shall go for the story of the short story, and then we shall discuss the important parts of the short story. His works, Dhumketu ji's works, are 492 short stories and 29 historical and social novels which deals with Chalukya Yuga and Gupta Yuga. In historical novels, he had discussed Gupta Yuga. I think you might know great historical figures who were in Chalukya Yuga, who were in Gupta Yuga. His biographical work on Hemchandracharya, a famous Jain scholar, he had written a biography of Hemchandracharya ji also, and he had written two autobiographical works which were very famous, Jivan Path and Jivan Rang. These were the works of Dhumketuji, and if you go in the libraries, you would find, certainly you would find the popular book of Dhumketu Nituki Vartao. It's a very popular book which is which is found in most of the libraries. Dhumketuji is an advisor to Sahitya Academy Delhi when he was working, and when he was living at that time he had remained an advisor, and his stories are included in the best loved Indian stories of the century. So he was known to be the most prominent writers of the Gujarati literature. Let's go for understanding of the setting of the short story. After understanding the author and writing regarding the author, or writing a detailed part about the author, you must mention what is the short story, the definition of the short story, characters, theme, setting, plot, character. So let's go for setting, which is cold, chilly weather as a background in the beginning of the story. Chilly, windy morning. Why this setting is very much important? Because the story of Coachman Ali, he is known to be Ali Dosa, because he is very aged person with screams and scars on his body, and he is very poor also. So he is old, aged and poor Ali Dosa. We can say Ali Chacha, or we can know him as Coachman Ali. He is in the beginning of the story, he is walking with a stick in his hand, and the cold chilly weather is displayed in the setting in the story. Look, we can see the character. Coachman Ali is the main character. Postmaster, Clerk Lakshmidas, and Miriam, which is the daughter, who is the daughter of Coachman Ali. She is not seen in the short story, but only her name comes frequently in the story. So the plot we are supposed to take over here, understand the plot over here is, Ali as a cruel young hunter had a daughter, and as she got married, she left her father in agony and pain. And when he was young, he was very strong and sharp hunter, but as his daughter grown up, and as she married and she went away with her husband was a soldier, and he was the soldier in Punjab regiment. So Miriam and her soldier husband, they went to Punjab, and Coachman Ali was alone over here. He had only one daughter, and there wasn't anyone else in his family. So now he was the only person, a lonely and only person, and had complete pain and agony, which he found, which we can feel throughout the story. He waited for her letter till the end of the life and died without getting it. This is the main part of the story. He waited for Miriam's letter because he was quite sure that his daughter would write a letter to him. The letter is merely a message of love and happiness, and it shows that Miriam is happy over there, and Ali could get the message of his daughter Miriam. But actually, this is not going to happen, and Ali dies without getting the letter of his daughter. This is the painful end which comes in the story. The letter, it's a remarkable story, the feelings and emotions of the man, and that man, is Coachman Ali. Let us try to understand the summary of the story. Summary is the whole infrastructure of the story, how the story develops, that is mentioned over here. The story of an old Coachman Ali. He went towards the post office. There was a cold morning. He wore tethered clothes, and he was inquiring for the letter of his daughter. As I told you, his daughter had gone to Punjab with her husband, and Ali was over here, an aged old man. He was waiting for his daughter's letters. So every day, that is the routine of Coachman Ali, that every day he went to the post office to find that whether his daughter had written a letter or not. A cold winter dawn with chilling winds, deafening silence, barking dogs, squeal of birds, and sound of grinding mills. Women were singing. People were still in the warm blankets. And this was the actual atmosphere of the cold winter frosty morning. And in that early cold winter frosty morning at 6 o'clock, he was walking with a stick, a sole companion. Stick was only his sole companion. Nobody was there to talk with him. There wasn't anyone else who he could share his feelings, that he was waiting for the letter or something like that. He was the only person. And he reached the post office, again sat down on the veranda. Every day he went to the post office and he sat on the veranda. And the employees at the post office, they chattered about him, that why he is coming always. Every morning for the last 4 years, complete 4 years, the clerk sorted the letters, and Ali was waiting as if the call of his daughter Miriam would be in the letter. Someone from inside calls his name, and Ali sprang to his feet. Even though old age weakened his energy, his faith and hope still energized him. So he was trying to wake up and take a letter from that postal employees, because the postal employees, they were just making fun of Ali. They were trying to make fun and make a comedy of Ali, that why he is coming always. Since 4 years he had been coming over there, and that is why the postal employees were quite annoyed because of Ali's coming over there, and that's why they speak the name Miriam. And Ali suddenly stood up and he went inside. And finally the postal employees, they laughed a lot, that okay, it is not your daughter's name, we were just kidding you, we were just making fun of you. And Ali was disheartened and disappointed, and he sat outside. So this is merely very much critical, because the postal employees, they made fun of all his emotions. It is not the matter of speaking the name of Miriam and making the fun, but it is actually pinching Ali's emotions, touching Ali's emotions, and making coachman Ali, the aged person who could not stand up even easily. He was quite weak, and he had to walk with very much difficulty. Still he went over there. So it shows that the postal employees had no emotions for this old fellow. However, no letter for him. Look, as I told you, there isn't any letter, but the people were just making fun of him. Postal employees made fun of him and disappointed Ali, and he went back to bench. Yet he had never lost his hope. He was still hopeful. Look, the people made fun of him, but still he wasn't disheartened or he wasn't discouraged. He still continued to going to the post office. He thought she would at least write a letter to him one day. Every day he went home empty-handed. He, as old foolish man, a madman. Ali was known to be the old foolish man. He was taken as a fun character in the post office. When he entered into the post office, the postal employees, they started showing arrow, indicating him that look, this fellow came, this madman came, the old aged person came. In that way, he was the main character who was made fun of. People were making fun of him. And at that time, every day he went home empty-handed. Once Ali did not come for several days. He became weaker and breathed with difficulty. Clear signs of approaching end of his life. Look, now Ali was very much sick and ill, and as he was aged, he was going to die. For several days he could not go to the post office, and after some days people came to understand that he was going to die. Once he was very much ill and clear signs of approaching end of his life, Ali asked the postmaster. Still he was ill. He went to the post office at last, and he asked the postmaster that was there any letter, as I was not coming for many days, several days, was there any letter during this period of time? And postmaster roughly insulted Ali and told Ali to sit outside and don't disturb the clerks and the postal employees. Ali called the clerk and gave him 5 golden coins. Now look, as he was too much humiliated, insulted by the postmaster, he thought that it was not better to talk with the postmaster. So he waited outside and he called the clerk and told the clerk that he'll take these 5 golden coins, and when you get the letter of my daughter Miriam, please put that letter on my grave, because I am not going to survive now. In that way, Ali came to understand that his death is coming soon and he could not get the letter of his daughter. So he gave the clerk the 5 golden coins, and in that way he continued his hope in his heart. Finally, Ali left the post office. Once the postmaster's daughter fell ill, now the things are going to be topsy-turvy. Now actual thing would happen in the story, how the person feels another's pain, another's problem. This thing is very well elaborated by Dhumketuji in this story, because postmaster himself, who had insulted Ali, he had his own daughter and his daughter was somewhere else and she was having fever, and the postmaster was waiting for his own daughter's letter, and he was trying to find the letter from the bunches of the letters, and he was eager to find his daughter's letter, and in between he saw the letter addressed to Coachman Ali. He saw that he could not find his own daughter's letter, but the letter was written by Miriam now, and that letter was of Coachman Ali. But Ali had already died 3 months ago. The postmaster did not know about Ali's death. He saw a letter of the Ali, and he thought that tomorrow, when in the morning Coachman Ali, the dosa would come and I would give him his letter. So on the very next day, he opened the post office and he saw that Coachman Ali was standing over there, and he rushed to give him the letter. And as he took the letter and went out of the post office to give the letter to Coachman Ali, Ali disappeared, because it was not Coachman Ali, but it was the spirit of Coachman Ali. It was the ghost of Coachman Ali. It was the mere illusion of Coachman Ali, and this postmaster was having the hallucination of Coachman Ali. So this is the actual reality of the story, that when Coachman Ali had got the letter, he wasn't anymore. He had died 3 months ago. The postmaster saw Ali next morning, and soon Ali disappeared, because it was not he, it was his ghost, his spirit. The postmaster was bewildered to see this mysterious thing. He was shocked. He thought as if that, is it the reality, or where is the person? In that way, the postmaster underwent Ali's plight, the same agony of anxiety, his daughter's health. All these things he felt himself, because now as his daughter was ill, he could not get the letter, and now he came to understand what Ali could have been feeling for many days without getting the letter of his daughter. Here, empathy towards Ali mellowed his heart, mellowed the postmaster's heart, and making him a better human being. The story makes the postmaster a better human being, because the postmaster became humanitarian. He himself started feeling about the pain and the agony of the separation which Ali had felt for his daughter. Postmaster understood the meaning of the separation because of this event of Ali's letter. The background of the story, the same background of the story which could be discussed in the summary also, it would be the same, but still we need to see it and you must learn it. Let us see each part of the background of the story. Ali was the hunter and sharpshooter. He never missed his aim. He enjoyed fishing. When his dear daughter Miriam married to a soldier and left him, the agony of parting and separation changed him completely, and he suffered the pang and separation of his daughter. The postmaster found his rude behavior inhuman. He called Lakshmi Das the clerk to find Ali. The next morning, when the postmaster opened the door of the post office and he saw Ali standing in front of him, but it was not Ali, but it was the ghost of Ali. Look, his Ali was standing with a stick, weaker, unearthly light in his eyes. Unearthly in the sense his eyes were not as same as the common human being, the human being of the society, the human being of the earth. But he seems to be quite unearthly, means he seems to be the supernatural element. He seems to be the person who is obscure or occult, the person who is not of this world but of the celestial world or but of the supernatural world. So the postmaster was stunned by his looks. The postmaster was shocked and surprised even that where the person had gone. The clerk informed that Ali had died 3 months ago, and when postmaster came to understand that the clerk that Ali had already died 3 months ago, he was quite shocked, and he thought that who was in the morning. The postmaster himself went to the grave and placed the letter on Ali's tomb. So the clerk told the postmaster that Ali had given me 5 golden coins and he had instructed me to put my daughter's letter on my grave. And the postmaster was very humbly taking the letter and putting it to the grave of Ali. Why this change came in the postmaster? It is only because he himself felt the separation of his own daughter, and that is the actual reason of his understanding the humanity. Theme of the story. Look, these are the themes which you must remember. They are about human emotions. Ali, Coachman Ali, a father, a hunter who was changed, a very emotional, aged, old fellow, a skilled hunter, a loving father, waiting at the post office like a place of pilgrimage. Every day he went to the post office as if he's doing worshipping to the God. In the same way, every day he went to the post office. The pain of separation, essential human worth of letters, and the importance of human relationships. This is very much symbolized in the form of letter, because the letter itself is the title of the story, and letter represents human relationships. Letter represents the messages. As you know, letter is a part of communication also, and here it is well elaborated by Dhumketuji. The meaning of love, the boundless passions, visiting the post office every day till the end of the life, he did not lose the hope. The hope is a very significant, important factor in this particular story. You can see that hope is found in the character of Coachman Ali, how he had been taking the hope from the beginning till the end that his daughter would write a letter. And in the same way, when the postmaster was waiting for his own daughter's letter, he also was taking the support of the hope. So hope is totally spread in this whole story, and hope has a universal role in this story of the letter, which you must write in your answer. Hope has a significant role in this story. The postmaster saw Ali's ghost, who had arrived to fetch the letter, because Ali had died 3 months ago. So it was not Ali. Naturally, he had already died. It was not Ali, neither Ali's dead body, but it was Ali's ghost. The tone of the short story must be understood by the students. Loneliness, grief, deep anguish due to separation, all these feelings were felt by Ali, and at the end of the story, the postmaster definitely, mutually, he also felt the same loneliness, grief, and deep anguish for his own daughter, and that is why he went to the grave to put that letter on Ali's grave. Ali waited for the letter for many years. For 4 years, we know that he had been coming to the post office, and he died without getting the letter. That is very much tragic. the postmaster had behaved very rudely with Ali. So this is very much touching, and it is a kind of a lesson, a moral lesson to every particular human being who is becoming rough, rude, or very in a very insulting way if you or anyone else is speaking with your elderly, you or me, anyone. We have to respect the elders, either they are the our elders, or if they are anyone else's elders, they are genuinely the aged people, so they must be respected by the society. He realized his mistake and he went to Ali's grave and placed the letter over there. Moral and ethical part of the story. We have to see the moral part and ethical part of the story, then we need to see the important message, and finally we shall go to see the image of Coachman Ali that I am trying to show you right now. Afterwards again I'll teach you the moral and the ethical part and the important messages. First you try to observe this particular picture which I had kept over here in this PPT. Look, Ali Dosa was standing with a stick. You can see that he had 5 golden coins, but could you see the tethered clothes? Could you see how old he had been looking and how aged and weaker, and such a emotional, such a pitiful character which is displayed over here. And in that way you can see the bunches of letters also. The line which is written over here in the script that you must read: Coachman Ali, old, haggard, with a stick and tethered clothes, walking and going to the post office. Now last 2-3 parts that which we have to learn: important message and moral and ethical part. The tone we had discussed. Now moral and ethical part of the story is very important. It's the most significant part of the story. Aged people frequently ignored, insulted, humiliated by young people, youngsters also, and sometimes it happens that even other aged people or other people who are not that much aged, they also sometimes insult or humiliate the old fellow. So this is merely not digested. It should not be applied. We have to remove this thing. Human beings are transformed into better human beings by sufferings only. Suffering or the pain, it is the only particular option, I believe, that which changed the minds of the human being. The postmaster too had a wait for the daughter, and as such he understood the situation, vice versa. If the postmaster would not have the craving for his own daughter's letter, he would never have understood the feelings of Coachman Ali. But as he himself felt the feelings, he understood Coachman Ali's problem. In Gujarati, there is a saying, Ramban Vagya hoy to e જ જાણે. Ramban Vagya hoy te જ જાણે એનું pain. So this is the actual proverb which could be befitted in this story. Those who suffer would understand what is the meaning of the suffering. That is what which is said in this proverb. Suffering makes the human being sensitive and sympathetic towards others. If you are sensitive and sympathetic, it is because somewhere you have felt sympathy and sensitivity for other human beings. Dhumketuji says, our good deeds are evil deeds. Our good deeds or evil deeds are rewarded or punished during our life on this earth. So either the good deeds or evil deeds, they are the part of our work, our tasks or our deeds, what we do. So this is the main thing which is mentioned in this story. So very good luck to all of you. God bless you, and we shall meet again in the next session regarding the compulsory English.